It's Golden time in Cincinnati. That's right. Al Golden was officially introduced today as Bengals defensive coordinator. He sat right here and talked alongside Zac Taylor for 30-plus minutes. My reaction, my thoughts on what Al and Zac had to say right now on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to CBT. I'm James Rapien of BengalsTalk.com here at Paycor Stadium. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, where 52,000-plus Bengals fans have already hit subscribe, and follow wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. Like I said, Al Golden, Zac Taylor, they were here at Paycor Stadium talking for over 30 minutes. It's audio that you can hear on this feed. It's video that you can watch on YouTube. And it's time to dive into some of these takeaways. By the way, the takeaways brought to you by Rivertown Inquiry and rivertowninquiry.com. Make sure you check them out today if you're looking for anything orange and black related or any kind of Cincy gear. They got the best apparel in town. But let's dive into this, because a big reason why the Bengals let go of Lou Anarumo was their draft plans and who they drafted didn't align at some point with the in-season playing development, getting the most out of their roster. Dax Hill, talented player. Jordan Battle, talented player. Myles Murphy, talented player. And they either didn't develop enough to get on the field, or Lou Anarumo didn't want to put them on the field, or Lou Anarumo didn't trust them enough to play on the field. All of these things happen, and all these different circumstances as to why. Well, you got to get more out of your young guys, of your draft picks, the guys that you do choose to pick. If you are picking them, you got to get more out of them. And so the player development part was the number one thing to me. And I thought Al Golden did a really good job of answering. And I'm going to play a clip of him in just a second, and it's a lengthy clip. But good job of answering that, because it's not just you have a plan and then you have to pivot quickly. No, you have a plan for these guys from the moment you draft them, or a plan for these guys like the Dax Hills, Myles Murphys, all of these guys that he's going to be coaching that are younger or unproven or have a lot to prove or have a lot to do. And so that's what they're doing this week, is they're going to put together a plan for the existing roster. And then you move on to the draft and all of those things, free agency. But that's the beauty of it, is if you're Al Golden, you have time now to evaluate who fits, who doesn't, what you want out of these guys, what you don't. It's a fresh set of eyes. But when it comes to development, it starts with developing the way he developed at Notre Dame, where he was able to get a lot of freshmen on the field, where he was able to get a lot of contributors that developed. The Xavier Watts kid, who a couple of years ago wasn't considered a high draft prospect, had 13 interceptions over the past 2 years, developed into that, and now he's going to be a day one, day two draft pick, and a lot of people are going to mock him to the Bengals because he's that rangy safety that can tackle that the Bengals desperately need. So without further ado, Al Golden was asked about player development and if his approach can be similar to what it was in the college game at Notre Dame to here in the NFL as far as developing players.
I think player development is again, it starts with the head coach, starts with Zach, starts with the strength staff, it starts with nutrition, starts in the training room. Just everybody being on the same page, and then just having a clear plan for them. I think it's really important. I said earlier, I don't want anything to be gray. I want the guys to be stimulus response defense, just, when you recognize, go, and part of that is just how do we make it quiet in their minds, and we do that in the off season with development, with making sure that each player knows the 2 or 3 things that they got to get better at, while they're learning the systems, and just really drilling down on that, because everybody needs to improve. Everybody, starting with me. As soon as they come back, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure it's really tight package, and make sure it's condensed in terms of what they need to improve on, and keep it small. Refine it. Play fast. Play with energy, and play together.
I assume that's your approach with draft picks as well, regardless of the pick, is having a plan, carrying it out, all of those things that you just mentioned from a development standpoint.
Yeah, certainly from a development standpoint. That we talked about this last Wednesday, just that onboarding, how good can you get on, as onboarding when the rookies come in, because, I think the one thing that we were proud of last year in South Bend was the number of freshmen that played for us and played significantly. And to do that, you have to be great at onboarding. There has to be a quick transition. They have to know precisely where their eyes need to go in the playbook, exactly what techniques we're teaching, and take the source to them. Go right to them in terms of how they learn best, and whether that's on their phone, through video, whatever that case may be. Just make it really, really accessible so they can be a continuous learner. And I think that's going to start the second we make that phone call and we draft somebody.
I thought that was huge, that he was willing to go in depth about exactly what his approach is going to be with these guys from the moment they get that draft call moving forward. And that has to be the case. Like I think of Dax Hill, and Zac Taylor sat up here and said, oh, well, yeah, our rookie isn't going to play special teams the night he was drafted. And then he couldn't get on the field as a rookie. They weren't getting him on the field as a rookie, even though he's super talented. I know there are people in this building that think he's really talented, but wasn't on the field. That can't happen. You have to have the visions align. When you're taking someone, whether it's in the first round or the fifth round, the plan for them has to align. And I don't think it did all the way at times here in Cincinnati. And so whether it's that, another thing Al Golden did, and by the way, Enter the Jungle tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, Tuesday. I go one-on-one with Al Golden. I probably should have mentioned that at the top. I will talk one-on-one with Al Golden. You'll hear me ask about developing players, about some of his mindset and mentality, the transition process from Notre Dame to here, how quickly it is. As he sat up here, I was thinking, like, man, a week ago you were getting ready to coach in the national championship game. What a difference a week makes. Boom. Just like that, things change. Other things that stand out about what Al Golden had to say. He talked about the flexibility, about how he runs a 4-3, sometimes a 4-2, and is happy to be flexible. Doesn't like to back his way into a corner and put himself into a corner, that this is how it has to be. And I think that is really important. This idea that he's going to come here and do exactly what he did at Notre Dame, I think that's pretty unrealistic. I think he doesn't think that either. And that's a good thing, because you're only going to play so much man-to-man anyways in the NFL. So to me, whether it's adaptability, whether it's the fundamental stuff, how many times did we talk about tackles and missed tackles and doing basic things? Hit all of that. He touched on all of that, and that's what you want. Now, does it need to be executed? Absolutely. Do they need to find the right guys? Absolutely. I did talk to him. I think my favorite part of my one-on-one interview with Al is what it could mean for the Bengals that he spent the past 3 years at Notre Dame. And it's really good stuff there, because he kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit on how it could help realistically moving forward in their evaluation process all offseason and into the draft. So, look, I've said this a few times. I think he's a good football coach. Anytime your favorite team gets a good football coach, you should be happy. I know there are questions about the process and all of those things. I'm not sure it's going to work. But what I do know is, from an approach standpoint, feels like he fits. I think you can ask anyone at Notre Dame, if you want, if he's a good football coach or not, too. He clearly had some skins on the wall here. But it's not like Zac Taylor was just going to hire Al Golden because it's his buddy. I coached with him before. Why would you do that? There's a reason you fired Lou. You have to get this right. And it's introductory press conference day. But everything that Al said made sense and appeared to align with what the Bengals were looking for. And that makes sense. Now, what are they looking for? They're looking for someone that's going to develop young guys. They're looking for someone that's going to get guys ready to go and hit the ground running. Al talked about he has a 10-part installation process, likes to throw a lot at guys in the spring so they can recall it in training camp when you're really grinding. He talked about playing fast. You want to play fast. You want to empower these guys to play fast, which they weren't doing until December. We have multiple accounts of that. Oh, we were playing faster. I need you to play fast week 1 against the Patriots, not week 14, not when the season's over after you lost to the Steelers in week 13. You can't do that. You got to play fast before that. And hopefully he can get that out of them. The other thing that I thought was really good, and I think would have played well with any players that were watching or have watched. By the way, if you're a Bengals player watching, you could check out Al Golden's press conference We posted the entire thing right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, audio or the video. But the thing of empowering these guys to make different checks, make different calls, I think that's really important too, especially at the NFL level. But at Notre Dame, he did that, and it's going to happen here. And what it is it builds a trust, and it builds a rapport. And if you can do that, if you can find the right guys, I think it would go a long way. One other thing that he mentioned at the beginning that I thought was really interesting was, remember a few years ago when it was like, oh, this is the captain's draft. 2020 was the captain's draft. All these guys besides T. Higgins who came out early were captains. He would have been a captain had he stayed at Clemson. The captain's draft. Well, Al was here for that. Al was part of the Logan Wilson, Akeem Davis Gaither, Marcus Bailey draft. Al was part of the find the right character guys that are going to be able to do all the things that you want them to do, and they also have the physical gifts. Maybe the Bengals need to get back to that a little bit. And that was something he hit on early in his 30-plus minute news conference as well. Make sure you check out that entire thing. It is worth your time, and I think that it's probably going to tell you something about the Bengals' new defensive coordinator. Good, bad, ugly, you be the judge. But I would say that overall that you're going to be pleased there. Also, before we go, the Bengals did introduce a new linebackers coach today. Mike Hodges spent the past 6 seasons in New Orleans, has been their linebackers coach since 2020. And so there you go, a new addition to Zac Taylor's coaching staff, to Al Golden's defensive staff. Chuck Burks is staying on as cornerbacks coach. Jordan Kovacs is staying on as safeties coach. And they officially introduced Jerry Montgomery, who is their defensive line coach and run game coordinator for the defense. So the staff, the coaching staff, is taking shape. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow wherever you get your podcasts. For Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Cincinnati Bengals Talk.